Okay. Damn.
Is that a punctuation mark? It's not a protest. We don't feel a protest from you.
No. I am aware that my heart will stop beating one day.
It's not going to happen while you're here.
And,
well, we could be wrong. You could pain yourself to death right here in front of all of us.
I might. If it were to be soon, I wouldn't be very pleased with the depth of service I gave to the rest of the world during the time that I was alive.
Well, when you reemerge into non-physical, you will be praised for your goofing off. We're not kidding. In other words, for your heart, for your love, for your kindness, for your care, for your thoughts, your powerful, powerful, helpful thoughts, for your spontaneous responses here and there. Oh, really? You haven't quite, and you're not alone, most haven't, sorted out what the value is that you're offering. And what it is you're an extension of source energy, open and flowing, and offering benefit wherever you are. Don't let other people gauge your accomplishments, and don't harshly gauge them yourself. You're just getting going. You need a certain amount of time to sift and sort and decide. But we're looking at your vortex, and we can see the powerful things that you put there. Do you know that when you ask for something, all that you know as humanity, present and coming, is benefited by your request? When you ask your inner being, and everybody that's hanging out with your inner being gets focused upon what you're asking for. Your service isn't your grinding things into place. It's your awareness of life. It's your living. It's the balance that you bring to the cooperative universe. It's the balance that you bring to the mass consciousness. What makes you feel? You zeroed right in on what Esther was talking about. Esther knows her value. And you know, it can be really hard on you when you know your value, because you find it often. And then you beat up on yourself in every minute that you're not giving it everything you've got. Well, why would you give it everything you've got in this moment when you've got eternity to give it? Why would you put yourself in that kind of a bind? Misunderstanding by those around you. Most people would choose a negative emotion than a positive one, because at least the negative emotion makes them feel like they're getting something done. They're actually getting the opposite of what they want done, but they feel productive. And that's sort of kind of what you're talking about here. Don't get all worried about not doing unproductive things. Like service. Now we want to talk about service. Everybody that you know is pure positive energy, and blessings and well-being, we're not kidding you, is raining down around them. It is being offered to them because they all have an inner being who is advocating on their behalf. But they've been taught by paying attention to what's happening right now in terms of manifestations to believe that if things aren't going swimmingly well right now, then they must be doing something wrong. And that just isn't what's going on. Not one of you said, I'll go into a physical experience and I will give everything I've got to fix a broken world, because none of you saw the world as broken. You didn't see, this is my path, I'll clean that up, or I'll clean that up. Nobody said that. What you said was, this is it word for word. This is it thought for thought. This is what you said. I am an extension of source energy, and I will focus into this multitude of variety of, contrast of life experience. And as I live within it, and it's going to take a while, you said, I will come to find my own preferences. And then this is the most important part. You said, and then I will focus in the direction of those. That's why your guidance system is what it is. Every emotion that you feel is the way you feel as you harmonize or not with what your inner being knows. So your inner being knows who you are as you decide to come into this body, clearly knows. And then your inner being sees you every step of the way, knowing what you don't want. Someone's rude, you want niceness. Someone's hungry, you want food. Someone's confused, you want clarity. Someone's unhappy, you want happiness. In other words, you did such a good job in the very, very early years, right up until right now, of launching rockets of desire. And your inner being has received all of those. You have contributed mightily. And whether you ever in this physical lifetime figure out how to let it in for your satisfaction and benefit is not relevant to what your contribution has been, because you have contributed. Your asking has been strong. And the answering of source energy is about what you and others have been asking for. Satisfaction, a feeling of well-being, a feeling of contentment or satisfaction, right up to that feeling of eagerness and passion. All of those good feeling emotions, that means you're in harmony with your inner being's knowing on the precise thought that you have active in that moment. So when you are hard on yourself, you cannot do a disservice to anyone, but you can certainly do a disservice to yourself by not letting yourself in on what you have set in motion. Talk about service. Most people, we love you so much. You know what's coming next. Most people think that real service requires a price to be paid by you. In other words, if you do something for someone, then you needed to give up time that you could have done something else with. You're giving up money that you could have used in some other way. Most people don't accept service unless you sacrifice. And then they don't receive the benefit of what they're calling service. Isn't that jacked up? So how did humans come to such momentum about that? They came to that momentum because they are evaluating by manifestational results rather than by vibrational moment-to-moment feelings.
This bothers me so much a lot of the time that I feel like I'm kind of an asshole. And then I'm just more of an asshole because I feel like I've been an asshole.
But you see, that's momentum. There is an asshole momentum. There is definitely an asshole momentum. And the assholes are everywhere. And if that's your bandwidth, because you're down on yourself, then that's the vibration you're offering. Then everywhere you go, asshole, asshole, asshole. They're everywhere. The world is rampant with assholes. But it's also rampant with happy people, kind people, willing people. In other words, don't ask the world to be good so that you can, from your perspective. You know what that feeling is? That's the feeling of denying your own alignment. But do you know what's so funny? It is funny. We're not making fun, but it is ironically funny. You feel like an asshole. Boy, that has a ring to it, doesn't it? You feel like inappropriate or down on yourself or disapproving of yourself. You feel like an asshole because you are denying yourself alignment with your inner being, who doesn't feel that way about you. If your inner being thought you were an asshole, you'd like it. If your inner being was on that wavelength, you go, asshole, you go. If your inner being were rooting for that, you haven't been rude enough to enough people. You need to get out. Don't just stay home by yourself. Get out there. Make trouble for others. If your inner being were really in agreement that that's the way you serve this planet, then you'd be taking delight in it instead of beating up on yourself about it. And the reason it doesn't feel good to you is because you're denying your connection with your inner being who adores you as you are. Your inner being who knows that you get to have a step one moment. Your inner being who knows that words don't teach and that life experience does. Your inner being who revels, who takes such delight in your exposure to life so that you can decide how you feel about how you feel. It's interesting. There are a lot of people thinking a lot of things about a lot of things, having a lot of opinions about a lot of things. And none of them like anybody else's opinions. They just don't. There's a human attitude of, I'm right, which makes you wrong. Where what's really going on is you are all right, because you're only attracting to yourself. And through the attraction to yourself, then you're making better and better decisions. And let's start again. You're really going to like this. So we talk a lot about the path of least resistance. And sometimes we get really animated about it. In other words, fearful. That's a lot of resistance. If you feel angry, it's less resistance. So that's the path of less resistance. If you feel hope, that's less resistance. It's still resistance. But when you get to love and joy and those feelings of fulfillment, now you're on the path of more allowance, more and more allowance, more and more allowance. So what is this path of most allowance or less resistance? Depends on where you are on it. What is it? What's the path leading to? It's a path to what? It's a path to who you are, and not who you were before you were born, who you have become even since you've been here. And that's what's bothering you. Your life has caused you to become more, but you're not keeping up to speed with it, because you are, like most humans, using other criteria to determine the appropriateness of your beingness. It's not easy to convince you all. We've been after it for a while. That you are not just a lover, you are love. And when you're not loving, you feel rotten. And when you feel rotten, then you feel like you need to defend why you feel rotten, which means you need to defend anybody that you think is the reason that you feel rotten. It's just a cycle that perpetuates. But once you really get it, that you are love, and that, now this is going to ruffle some feathers, and you'll send letters to the office, and they won't give them to Esther because they're nice to Esther. So you cannot separate yourself from your inner being. You cannot behave in a way that your inner being would cease knowing your value and loving you. And that's why the more you feel like not loving you, the worse you feel, because the separation between you and you is getting greater and greater. And you see evidence of that. The madder and meaner and bigger and awfuler anyone is, the more separated they have caused themselves to be from their natural source of love. It's just absolute. We appreciate so much your conversation, and we really liked it on the heels of pronouncing that Esther's just decided that she's not going to feel bad about those moments where she decides to just goof off. She's good at things, she's productive, she's an organizer. She has a place for everything, and everything's in its place. She likes to be on top of things. She's really hard after keeping her promises to herself. And sometimes she forgets the most important promise that she's made to herself, and that is to like me no matter what. To like me. To like me. To like me. Because my inner being likes me, and if I choose some reason for not liking me, then I've missed the point of my existence. Yeah? Enough?
Thank you.
Really good. Really good. Don't be upset, but your track title is going to be called Asshole.